it feels like he's Darcy and she's not quite Elizabeth. It's almost like Darcy met Lydia. And you're like, what happened? Hello.
Hello.
So this is Juniper.
This is Elle.
Oh, wow. We sound we just got out of bed or something.
I feel like I sounded way too excited last time, so I'm trying to tone it down a little bit.
Oh, yes. Don't be yourself. Be someone else. Be someone on sleeping pills or something. So anyways, this will be hopefully episode 2.
Yes.
And we had said at the end of the last episode, which I think only you and I made to in recording and listening to. I don't think anyone else probably got there. So as a quick recap, at the end of the last episode, we said, hey, you know what? Maybe we should do a deeper dive on one of Chen Xingxu's, our favorite Chinese actor's dramas. One of his more recent ones from this year, called My Boss. So that's why we're here today. And in fact, we had tried recording this earlier, and well, it ended up being so long. We're like,
super long.
Yes, we don't need a thesis on My Boss. It's a pretty light and fluffy drama. We don't need 3+ hours of content on this. So this is attempt number 2, and hopefully we get further in shorter time.
Yes,
today.
I agree.
Let's do for 30 minutes or less, and if we can't, well, we'll just randomly cut it off, I guess, at 30 minutes.
Yeah. When people are like, what happened to the rest?
Yes. Well, then go watch the show. Okay. So where do we want to start? Maybe we start with what the show is about. How would you describe the show?
So it's based on a novel called, how do you say it in Mandarin?
What goes around comes around. 你也有今天.
Yeah, and
YouTube have today, or today, so but it means what goes around comes around, or
Yes, like you had it coming, kind of.
Yeah. Here goes nothing. High level summary of what the show My Boss is. Young newbie lawyer Chen Yao gets a job at a prestigious boutique law firm, and the firm is called Junhen, right? And Junhen is named after the 2 of the 5 partners you just mentioned. And she also moves into a new apartment near the firm. She is unexpectedly forced to share her new apartment with a new male roommate due to a mix-up with the rental. And her roommate turns out to be her new boss at the law firm named Chen Hen. He's a very good-looking but difficult man, as you already mentioned. He focuses only on his work and is very demanding of Chen Yao because of her inexperience and because of some misunderstandings that have, that keep basically piling up between them. Shenanigans ensue, and over time, things change between them and evolve towards a more romantic dynamic. Chen Yao and Chen Hen end up together as a couple. I don't think that's considered a spoiler. They undergo some minor couple trials and tribulations, and ultimately solidify their relationship. The show is 36 episodes, each about 45 minutes long. And you can watch it on a couple of platforms in the US or internationally. Well, I don't know. I can't speak internationally, but in China, it's on Youku. In the US, you could watch it on YouTube International by the actual production company that sponsored it, called Linman Media, or on Youku. Oh, I'm sorry, not on Youku here, actually. Because it's on YouTube, you can't watch it on Youku International. It's only on Youku China.
It's also on Viki now, I think.
Oh, really? Probably. It might be. It's probably on a lot of new platforms, right?
Yeah.
But so there you have options. Only note that if you do watch all 36 episodes, there's slightly different. I shouldn't say version differences. It's just that, right? On the Chinese platform, they cut, I think, 10 minutes out of the last episode and then packaged it as a bonus episode for pay-per-view, which is stupid, just to squeeze more money out of the audience. Well, the lucky international audiences could just watch the last episode uncut. Like
Yeah,
the
so
bonus.
if you're on YouTube, after the episode 36 ends, past the credits is where the bonus episode is shown directly continuing.
So don't miss that.
So yeah, so because I only noticed because when I was watching it, I noticed there was the timer. It was like not near the end. It was like I don't know how long. I don't remember how long the bonus was, like 10 minutes or less. And I remember like, oh, this is also, where is there extra time attached to the video? So I kept playing. Usually I would just shut it off when the credits start rolling. So
it's like a Marvel movie, except not. You gotta stay for the post credit.
Because Marvel movies tease the next thing. This did not.
Well, this teases the future, I guess, of their life together.
Yes.
But anyways,
Yes.
all right. So that I'm done rapping. Didn't miss anything, I hope. And hand it over to you. Like thoughts in terms of like, how would you describe the show?
When we last started our podcast, we did mention that it came at the same time as his other show, Our Interpreter. So when I was watching it, I actually didn't like My Boss initially because the pacing was really strange to me, because right off the bat you have a male lead who's very pompous, very arrogant, and almost cold, like in a very extreme cartoony way. We also talked about that. It's very cartoony.
It wasn't like a turn off for me.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a turn off. It was just, it's a little jarring because I didn't know where the direction was going. And then you had the sort of goofy female lead who actually the
so
first
goofy,
scene,
so ditzy that you're like,
so yes. You're like, oh, they're supposed to match together. Like, how is this gonna work? Because they're actually in very different, I don't want to say they're not different. Okay, they are in different social classes, but also the way they meet is under a very silly setup where she thought he was a gigolo. So, oh yeah, we should warn with there are spoilers. There are spoilers in this podcast. Sorry. Yeah. So when she first meets him, she misunderstood him to be a gigolo, a highly paid gigolo at that. And so by the time they actually have their first interaction, he's completely like turned off by her, because he's like, what is her deal? And then she's very much like, oh, you can do better in life, you just go to school, get an education.
Wait, and then when she looked down, she would you say she looked down on him because she thought he was just selling his body?
Yes.
And had a bad attitude? And she's like, I'm a lawyer. Like,
yes.
I can teach you things, and I can fight you for the rental agreement if you're gonna fight me. And he's like, what is your problem?
Yes, because she already had this prejudice against him.
Yeah.
And he didn't care about her. He was more like, you're just like a little gnat that I need to like
a gnat
swat away.
Like a gnat.
Right?
You know what remember I said this, and I just remembered this, so I'm gonna use it here and say that, remember I said, hey, at some point I realized this is kind of like, Chan's kind of like Mr. Darcy.
Yes.
And now that hearing you say about how they met and the initial misunderstandings, I was like, it is Pride and Prejudice in some ways, because anyone who's read Pride and Prejudice knows that there was a huge misunderstanding throughout most of the book between Elizabeth Bennet and Darcy, right?
Yeah.
But only thing, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
The only thing I would say though is, it feels like he's Darcy and she's not quite Elizabeth. It's almost like Darcy met Lydia, and you're like, what happened? So Lydia Bennet, right? She was like the brainless, harebrained, like, oh, life is like all about fun, and I have no care in the world. I'm gonna just run off with a man. I'm not saying Chen Yao is like that, but it's that airheaded lightness. Like, hey, did you forget to pack your brain cell? That one brain cell you had this morning with you? To go to work or any part of life today that you're.
Yeah, because she does not have the lightness and the wittiness of an Elizabeth, right? Like, she's not
the judgmentalness of Elizabeth.
Because the reason Darcy loved Elizabeth was not just her sparkling eyes, but because she could verbally banter back. in many ways. And
Her.
huh?
He respected her. So we're talking about Darcy, right? Darcy, sorry, slight tangent to Pride and Prejudice land.
Yes.
Darcy respected Elizabeth, and he found her very attractive. I think
Yes.
in My Boss, initially, I think we both enjoyed the comedy, and the fact that it was so cartoonish made it fine that in real life you can't envision these two people getting together and getting along. Right? I think we're supposed to realize that there's certain qualities about her because they are forced to cohabit together that he really comes to appreciate, or that he's just so deprived of real human association because of his hard exterior, right, and his awkwardness. That
so
she's her, first person who kind of punctured the barrier.
So it's not in the drama, but in the novel, I recall they mentioned that she actually is very attractive, and they actually in the translated version I read, she's actually described as an unaware femme fatale, meaning she was really beautiful, but she didn't know she was beautiful.
They kept saying in the book, right, that she's too attractive to be a lawyer. I'm like, what does that mean? That is not.
No, in the drama, she is not that at all. Like they definitely changed up.
She's pretty.
She was cute, yeah, but she's not a femme fatale,
right? Your neighbor's like sister or kid, not like Catherine Zeta-Jones in her heyday.
Yes, or she would make a cute like school teacher. Not that school teachers can't be femme fatales. I'm just saying she was like that cutesy type, not like more kitten, less lioness. I don't know. But and they also, if I remember correctly, they say Chen Xingxu in the novel, he was not moved by visual, someone's beauty. Beauty actually did not move him, but her, as time went on, he liked her personality, her soul, if you will. And that, right? Yeah. So it just happened that she was also beautiful in the novel. So it made him find he was not moved by her beauty, but because he fell in love with the inner her. So I feel like that part would have been nice to see in the drama. I felt like that was missing.
No, in the book, she's actually said they describe her as a very good cook, and okay, let's back up for the people who may not have watched the show, right? Let me give a real quick summary of kind of how the show works, because there's actually I think there's mini arcs, even though for a show like this usually you don't have overarching stories, right? But I would say initially, if you make it through episode 5, you should be golden. But the initial 5 is I would consider that a hump to get through, because you're like, where is this going? What is this about? Yeah, there's some really silly shenanigans and funny jokes, but if you don't get into it, you're like, why do I care, right? And why are they acting like babies? Because there's a whole trope at the beginning that he can't sleep. He's suffering temporary insomnia, right? And it turns out that when she does house chores or cooks, she hums a lullaby that puts him to sleep. Except he doesn't figure it out for a while, but he realizes it's her eventually, and he kind of finds excuses to tie her to him, right? To help him with his insomnia. So you're like, wow, this is the stupidest trope ever, right? I mean, they play for real good laughs, I would say. So you have to get through that initial hump, and then maybe starting around episode 6 through 13, you start to see more of a hints of there's being more relationship evolution between them, right? As they start working together on cases as boss and assistant attorney. Around 14 to 22, I think, is the romance takes more stage, and where the push and pull happens. Well, push and pull really within on Chen Hen's side, because I feel like as a show, the show is more empathetic or emphasizes more of the male storyline than the female, even though technically it's also trying to say what an independent career woman Chen Yao is, although I think we all agree that it fell flat on that for many reasons we also already discussed in our last episode. But 14 to 22 is when it culminates towards him finally, through a lot of shenanigans and pretty funny situations, confessing his love, right? And then they go into kind of the coupledom bliss and cuteness and hiding the relationship and getting found out by their co-worker friends, right? Around 23 to 29. So everything is a very fun joyride, I would say, all the way through episode 29-30. And then it suddenly takes a weird turn around the 30 mark with dun dun dun, love rival for his affections coming to ruin things. And he has no part in it, right? He's just they're all kind of like clueless victims. It's quickly resolved, although I have to say, while I this show was so entertaining for me that I never skipped any part of it, except for like one of the episodes, I want to say 32 or 33, where it was like the height of the love rival being a mean girl type of situation, right? Where I was like, this is stupid. Like, I don't need this trope right now. Like, can we just get to the happy ending? You get to the happy ending at episode 35, 36. Really around 36 at the very end, to be honest. Though they paved the way for that at 35. So, if I were to rate this show up to episode 29, I'd be like, purely on entertainment value, okay? I'm not here to critique technicalities and, realism or anything like that. Just taking it as a fun, cartoonish rom-com, right? It is an 8 or 9 out of 10 for me. But taking in holistically the fact that there is this coda of, like episodes 30 to 36, I would deduct some points, right? So it averages out to like an 8.
Yeah, I would agree. I would give it around an 8, between an 8 and a 9, because I actually really did enjoy Chen Xingxu's performance. Like, and I think I alluded to it. Obviously, we did a whole episode on just him, but I when I watched this, it was like, in the beginning, I told you, I had no warm and fuzzy feelings towards him as a character, because he wasn't supposed to be your typical, I think, warm and fuzzy male lead. Like, it was all harshness, right? There was no softness. Like, everything about him, right? The way he conducts himself at work, the way he talks to people, like, you're not supposed to like this person. But the way they drew out his character arc from beginning to end, and then, like, even when he started to fall for Chen Yao, like, she was definitely attracted to him, but she was like, oh, he'll never be into me, right? There was that level of inferiority complex, which will eat at her much, like, in a more vicious way later on. But in the early days, it's like she kind of crushes on him, but she's not like seriously crushing on him.
She thinks he's so perfect looking. She's like, oh, is your nose even real? Like, did you get plastic surgery? Because you're so rich, right? Is this perfect face I see due to money, not nature?
Yes. And even I think, I just lost my thought. Yeah, like, there was some other parts where that time when she was at a noodle shop, and like, she bumps into like an old classmate. He's like, can you give me legal advice? And she's like, oh, and she's not sure. She kind of wants to help him, but she's not really that close to him anyways, and she feels a little put on the spot. And then Chaheng shows up, and he only showed up because she inadvertently sent the location of the restaurant to him when she was having lunch, and he goes into this big spiel of like, you don't give out all your 4 years or whatever years of hard work in law school, like, for free to this guy. And anyways, the money she earns goes to me because I'm her boss. And like, she was so appreciative, but then he's like, oh, and then he starts like, kind of like teaching her a lesson. And she's like, oh, I thought you were so handsome and sweet and kind to defend me, but it's really like, because you really only care about your own bottom line, right? That's how she viewed him in the beginning.
Because she's Elizabeth Bennet, who is really prejudiced. And,
yes.
And, actually,
so
who's Pride and who's Prejudice? Pride is Darcy, Prejudice is Elizabeth. So, yes, she is prejudiced. She's very judgmental, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah, she is. And
we never talked about this. She's actually very judgmental. Maybe that's why we don't like her 100%. Because, like, her parents are like even worse, but we don't like her parents, so let's not even talk about them. I think what you're trying to say, and I was thinking the same thing when you were saying what, like, if you met someone like Chen in real life and you didn't understand him, he's a complete jerk, right? Yes. But not in like a smarmy jerk way, but like, just like, wow, can anyone be so full of himself and have such a high opinion of himself and be so terrible to other people with no regard to how it makes them feel? But what you realize, and and I don't know how much is the acting or how much is the way the story's set up. I give credit to both, right? Which is you realize that Chen Hen, even at the very beginning when he's being completely unreasonable and mean, that he's actually not a bad guy. He's mean, but I don't think he's ever really disrespectful of people in a demeaning way, even though some of the things he asks her to do are very demeaning, right? Does that make sense? Like, I don't even know if I'm conveying this correctly. And at the heart of it, you can see he's actually a very caring and just and fair person. Like, everything he does, he has like it's a calculus you can tell about is this fair, right? And
so actually if you go back to the beginning, right, like she already had prejudice against him because he was known as the cancer of the industry. Remember, he had never lost a court case, but he was known because he didn't befriend people, he didn't kiss anyone's ass, he wasn't like, he didn't try to be on anyone's good side. He was really there, like
he's like, I know who I am, and I'm okay with being who I am, and I don't need to kowtow to anyone and their needs and ideals. That's how he is. So he's very he is full of himself.
So he has reason to be full of himself, and so she already had these preconceptions of him before she even knew what he looked like, right? But then I feel like the first inkling that he is not that horrible person is Bao Roy. I'm saying his name.
His other, the guy who thinks he's the boss's favorite, but really
yes, he's one of his employees who reports directly into him, and like he is the first person to be like, oh my god, like he's awesome, and yes, he's really strict with all these people. 13 people before you have been fired for whatever reasons, but like he's the best. And like if he was really that awful, you would not have such an innocent, sweet guy like speaking so well of him. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like that was the first inkling where you're supposed to be like, oh, he's not a demon. Because if it was a demon, there would be no one that likes him at the law firm. He didn't have that.
I think it's interesting. Bao is your kind of revealed or hint to at first of him being a nice guy. For me, I think it was more slowly. You see that he's actually he takes care of her even when he's being mean, right? Like he's not and when they get into the first case is when you finally see, well, first of all, how idiotic she is and emotional she is, right? Everything is driven by her irrational emotions. I shouldn't say that. That's almost like, oh, you should not have emotions. But it's like, come on, you're a lawyer. You should be thinking with your head, not your and be swayed by one offhand remark or here and there, right? Like know all the facts. He was coming across as very mean and strict to her, but you realize very soon because they show you, right? Like the reason he was doing and saying all of those things to her was for her good. And she came to kind of like understand that. Took her a while. But then she went and made the same mistake again.
I mean, you and I talked about this too, and I think even the character herself addressed this in the drama, that she didn't go into law wanting to fight for law. She went in because she wanted to be like her older sister. She wanted to defend her sister. Yeah, like she had very personal reasons for going into law. And she never had a great mentor until she met Changheng, who guided her on how to use the law. You know, not just for personal reasons, but for fairness, and that everyone has an opportunity to use law to defend themselves. And I think that's why we ultimately really like Changheng as a character, because he is showing he's very multi-dimensional. Like he exceeded the expectations versus you expected her character to be multi-dimensional, and she actually became flatter and flatter by the end. I feel like they went in reverse, he got fleshed out
as a very... I mean, he became a sweet teddy bear by the end, and even midway through, you're like, oh, poor man, you're just rooting for him. Even though he kept, like, screwing himself over, right? Like, you're like,
Yeah.
I heard her, like, you'll learn from this, buddy. You'll get your chance at the girl. And I was really rooting for them, actually, all the way until the very end, because the end, like you said, she became like Miss Cold Fish, and you're like, what? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, please dump her. Like, you guys should not be together. Right? Like, but that actually is only I think a show thing. I think I mentioned, right? I made it to the end of the audiobook. You didn't. So in the book, she has good reason to be kind of more deliberate cold fish to him. And it doesn't come across as cold fish like the way they did it in the drama. And part of it could be, as I think you and I had discussed offline, that it was the actress maybe. She's just not conveying the dimensions there, right? Or maybe they cut stuff, because they did cut supposedly 4 episodes or something, which I'm like, why would you cut 4 episodes if it's like necessary, right? They needed more time together as a couple at the end to be happy and go back to the sweetness. But anyways, yeah, so I think we all agree we like Qianhen. We even like silly ditzy Lydia version Chen Yao, right? Because of the way they play off of each other until she took a nosedive at the 30-something mark, and you're like, okay, no, I no longer like the actual female lead, and that's a bummer. Yes. But I still want to see a happy story, so I'm going to overlook that. And therefore, because I still want to like the story, and I still do. Like, I've rewatched the show end to end, and it was very enjoyable, even on the second round, right? Like, to me, even though it's a rom-com, this is not the type of show where you watch it for the romance.
Yes, there's a very strong supporting cast, and they're all caricatures themselves, but they're all very clear caricatures, and they play a very specific role. I mean, you and I talked about how we love the bromance too. Like, it's not like he has the best relationship with Wu Jun.
His friend, the other partner.
The other partner. Like, they have such a great relationship, and like, you would think, even if he's
a whole show about just the two of them.
Because he's a prickly character, but he actually, was able to find a friend who can handle his prickliness, and it's not oppressive. It's not like two friends who have like a competitiveness. There's no competition between them. They're just like brothers at this point. Like,
yeah, it's like hold the thought on the supporting cast and the overall cast dynamics, which is very entertaining, right? But what I mean is, even though it's a rom-com, I didn't watch it for the romance. I wasn't like, oh, I need the couple. Like, I see some people commenting like, wow, they don't kiss until episode 23 or whatever. It was very late. I remember that. They're like, I can't have that in my romance. That's not romantic at all. That's too dragged. I'm like, dude, you're not watching this. I mean, I'm not watching this for the whole will they, won't they. The will they, won't they only helps drive the comedy, right?
Yes.
And the drama, but in like a fun type of way. You're like, oh, what are they gonna do next? Or what else could go wrong here? Or what funny moments can they squeeze out of this, right? Or so that's what I mean. Like, I'm not watching it for the romance. Of course, I want them to end up together, because what was the point of this journey otherwise? Despite all the entertaining shenanigans, right? But it's not a great love story, like, what is a great love story? I don't know, Dr.
Pride and Prejudice.
Even Pride and Prejudice isn't even a great love story. It's you enjoy it for the journey of how these people come to realize how wrong they are, and thank God they found that out and had enough courage to right their own mistakes, right? Like, they didn't stay obstinate and go, well, I was wrong about Darcy, or I was wrong about Elizabeth, and therefore, in fact, even Darcy was the first one to capitulate, right? And go, despite my, your low origins or lower status, I deign to want to marry you, which was completely the wrong way to like someone, but that's exactly how Qianhen comes across, right? To Chen Yao.
Yeah.
Even when he's like trying to get him to confess to her was like painful, but painfully funny too. Because he's like, oh my God, I can't confess. He's so used to everyone chasing him. And of course, he's often clueless about love, right? Which is what Darcy was too. Like, everyone liked him. Everyone chased him for his looks and money. No one liked their temperament, but they were all willing to overlook it. but they also think, oh, someone who is so high up, right? They must know everything. But in reality, if you look behind the blinds, this is a little boy. He doesn't know how to handle himself. So when he falls for the woman that he loves, he's like, I don't know how to handle myself. How do I get her to confess to me?
Well, he's also all in, right? He's hyper focused on her.
Oh, he doesn't give up. They don't give up either, right? They're like, oh, this didn't succeed. Let me try a different way. I'm just gonna like take up all her time.
Including making her like clean his house.
Yeah, that's so the right way. Boys and men out there, if you want a girl to like you, yeah, make her clean your house.
Especially when it's not a 50,000 square foot villa with like a giant moat around it.
Outside, do all the hedging.
All the glass. She has a squeegee. like an office park.
I was like, how is she gonna clean the whole house with like a Swiffer?
Yeah. So actually, one thing we didn't mention here is in the beginning she misunderstood him as a gigolo, and he misunderstood her because the reason she even she got a job at his very prestigious law firm is because her older sister is the girl that the Woo-jun, the other partner, has a crush on, and he's had a crush on her since university days. And so he wanted to bring her in so he can have an opportunity to, I guess, make contact again with his crush. And so Chang Hong had these misgivings. He does not approve of this backdoor, they call it backdoor relationship, like meaning she came in with help. Yeah. So she came in with assistance, like not because of her merits. So he already looked down on her on that. So that was the two-way where they both had prejudices and misgivings about one another. And even by the time she came to realize that she was wrong about him, his other aspects, unappealing aspects, being the cancer of the industry, that fed into it. So it took the journey that you talk about is very much them overcoming their initial dislike for that person because of these misunderstandings, which is interesting to me in that they didn't overcome it quickly. Because I feel like had I met someone and I accidentally thought he was a gigolo, and I found out, oh, you're very well respected. Well, not well respected. You're a very successful lawyer. I feel like I wouldn't continue having, like, you would change your mind just as he would realize, oh, she can do the work. And I guess for him, it's just him,
she never really proved herself very early on because she kept messing up. If you think about it,
that's true.
For her, you're right. I didn't understand why she was like, but I don't think it was the misconception of the gigolo stuff that made her not want to change her mind about him. It was that he did persist in his toxic behavior if you didn't know him better, right? Like if this one, you could say he's a toxic boss in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but he's not. Yes. He's just
people were afraid of him, right? Especially if he was in a mood when he had his screaming episodes in the office, which was not deemed irregular. Like people were aware that it would happen, and they would just stay out of his way. So, yeah, if there was no romance to this, he would be like a very toxic, very disliked person, like that. People will be crying at their desks.
Like him, okay? Let's face it,
people will be crying in their cubicles, okay?
We should write an alternative script where this is I don't know, like Apple TV produced, office drama about like toxic work environment and the ramification.
Yeah, if you think about it, it would actually be very scary to go to work. You wouldn't be like, oh, I'm so happy to go to work. I mean, they were doing all these other
watch the show obviously with cartoon or rose tinted glasses on, because again, I don't like it when people go, oh well, I'm gonna critique this like this is not realistic. Of course not. It's a rom-com. Is any rom-com realistic?
It's not meant to be realistic whatsoever. Oh, the other thing you mentioned, which we didn't talk, which we should bring up, the late kissing. So, the director, I think, in interviews has mentioned that he deliberately held off on their first kiss. Like he wanted to build up that sense of mystery and romance, and there's a scene where like their feet touch under the table. Like he had mentioned that was a deliberate decision
when they were playing footsie.
Like yes, so that was deliberate. And then in the novel they do kiss early on, but not because of romance. In the now sort of famous scene of the rowboat, which if you watch the show is quite iconic as a
they turned it on its head on the show. They reversed it. Yeah, they reversed it.
So in the drama, he falls into the water and she had to go save him, but and nothing romantic happens. But in the novel, they both fall into the water, and she starts to like sink under the water, and he grabs her and gives her like air, and then in her mind, oh my god, that's her first kiss, which is very tropey. And they took that out, and they flipped that entirely in the drama, so that doesn't happen. So it's actually interesting. I mean, I guess in the long run, the outcome is still the same, but it was a deliberate decision to lay off the kissing until later on. And even when they first kiss in the drama, it's not a perfect kiss, right? They kind of miss. Yeah, they miss each other's lips. Like their lips are off-centered. So it was, it's a different vibe. It's a different vibe.
Fair, not realistic, but given the unrealistic setting that he's a man who's 30 now and is still a virgin and didn't like even date before, right? And she didn't seem to have dated either, or they don't talk about it, right? That he would have no clue, and so that it does take a while, even if once you confess feelings and get together, to get to that next step. In at least what I know of more traditional Asian culture as represented on screen. Now I don't know about real life, right?
Yeah.
Like people move slow. Like, oh, let's first hold hands. We can hold hands for a year before we get to. Okay, maybe not a year. 3 months before you get to kissing, right? Like, whereas in the show, I think they do kiss probably within the first month of getting together, right? Or first few weeks. And then, because they celebrate like an anniversary, 3 months anniversary or something like that, don't they?
Like a 1 month anniversary,
100 days. 100 days.
Oh, yeah.
So not over 3 months plus. And so you know that by that time, they've progressed so far that he kind of understands her, and he does some very romantic and sweet things, right?
Yeah.
And he's comfortable now in the role of boyfriend, and unfortunately, she's ready to now take a nosedive in the role of girlfriend. But let's not go there. I hate negativity, and let's just avoid that.
Yeah. So aside from negativity, we can focus on things that we really enjoyed, and I could start because I actually had a lot of favorite scenes, which is why we gave it such a high score, I think. So actually my favorite episode, I don't remember the numbers, in the upper 20s, was when they had the company outing, and they went away to like this, I don't know where they were supposed to be. But there was a field full of flowers, like purple flowers, and there was like a little ancient town that they visited that was very like antiquated and very cute, and the whole episode was like the sweetest, most romantic episode. I mean, there's another thing I really like too, but that episode really stood out in my mind because, first of all, because the director dragged out the romance for so long, it's almost like, here's the payoff, right? Here's the payoff for the episodes of torture or not torture, but like mini angst until you get to the part where they're actually dating, but they're keeping it secret from the other people in the law firm. So there's a lot of this like running off and trying to find like a moment when they can be alone,
like the giggle moment when you're dating.
Yes, like the honeymoon phase. They were in their honeymoon phase, and then also visually it was just so pretty to look at, like the whole episode, because it just talked about the city, it wasn't in like a corporate setting anymore, and so you can actually, they're in a tent,
which is my terrible. I hate camping, but I want to be in a tent, so I almost tell my husband, like, can we build a yurt? Well, you know me, I got an indoor tent and an outdoor tent, so I can tent anytime I want in the comfort of my home.
I know, but now you can see it happen. Like Changheng is like, oh, that's a really, and it was really pretty too. Like they had lights, like little fairy
Purple.
lights
The
everywhere.
verbena flowers.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I feel like that episode. I just feel like that whole scene was visually stunning, and then the emotions that it brought up as an audience member, it was very fun to watch. And then the second one that I'll let you chime in. But the second one I really like is also the amusement park, which happens in an earlier episode, which is sort of the first time where they're interacting also outside of work, outside of their apartment, and she kind of forces him to play along and be her friend at the park because that was like I think a wish that she made and a promise that he said he owed her a wish or a promise. So those were the two scenes that I feel were very rom-com-ish because they're just what you expect to see in a dating relationship, and it was cute.
Interesting. So I did like the outing episode, but I'm not going to talk about my favorite episode or scenes. Oh, by the way, it's episode 28 because I have detailed notes that I wrote down the second time I watched the show. So if for anyone interested, you could go to 28. But I did like 28 because the visuals and the whole like part of my own like fantasy is to go off camping without in all the comforts. Glamping, really, it is glamping. And now that you mention it, that episode, what really is great about it is also it involves everyone else, right? Because it's a company outing. So all of your favorite side characters, and we really like everyone but her parents in this whole show. So other than his parents and her parents who are not there, even her sister ends up showing up, which was great, right? Like your best friends and their closest 100 buddies are there, and there's more shenanigans. To me, it wasn't about the romance at all because I told you I didn't watch the show for the romance at all. I watched it for the dynamics and the interactions and the little nervous interactions and the giggle moments, right? Everything but the actual romance.
But they did have a hot kiss at the end in the tent.
And then she passed out. Which I was like, how can you pass out with a man like that? Anyways, that's not real. That's not realistic. Okay.
No, but anyways, of course not.
I did like the episode because of their her office buddies, his two assistants, and then Wu Jun's assistant attorneys find out that they're together, and it was hilarious. I love the scene when they found out because she was drunk. She's hugging him, going, "I want a kiss from my boyfriend Chen," and he's all trying to like play it off as like, "Oh no, we're not drunk. Together." Yeah. I love how like. Do you remember he put his arms up in the air the minute they came, and it's like, "I give up." Like, hey, I'm not touching her. She's just like drunk. And then, but he gave up really quickly because he's like, "Okay, fine. Yeah, it is what you know."
But he wanted people to know. She's the one who didn't want people to know because she felt like people will judge her, or she wanted to make something of herself first. So she's equal to him. She wanted to be equal to him so that they could be like the golden couple kind of thing, She was very, and he was okay with that. He wasn't like, "Oh, are you ashamed of me?" Like he wasn't thinking that. But I think he didn't mind that the cat was out of the bag. I think he was very proud to say, "I'm in love." Like I love the feeling of being in love.
And I love the reactions from the the two guys and the girl, right? They're just like, oh. They were all drunk, and then they're like,
they were drunk too. So you're like, are they even going to remember? Yeah, like, are they even going to remember this moment?
Yeah, they remember. They had a whole debrief, like, when they got back, and that was hilarious, too. It's like, how did you... But anyways, I digress. The other scene you said about amusement park, to me, again, I don't need that type of super romantic setup, but it was definitely, I think, their first foray into true romantic territory, even though they weren't romantic towards each other yet.
They weren't.
What I remember about that one was the lemon stuffed doll.
Yes.
And how he was so he became so like fixated on it because of her. And then he had that whole bartering conversation with the high school kid who wanted to buy it off of him, and he was just like, how are your grades? Are you ready to get a job? Are you gonna get a job? How can you like squander your money on this when you can't even like afford XYZ? Focus your energies on something. I was like, this is hilarious.
And it's so classic Changheng too.
Yeah,
like
that's
it's
kind of guy he
on
is,
brand.
right? Yeah, and the kid's just like, "What is wrong with you, uncle?" Um,
Uncle.
but I'm surprised you actually didn't mention the birthday party at his house.
Oh, I didn't forget it. I think that was more um that brought about more complex feelings from me because the misunderstanding is almost
Yes.
secondhand embarrassment. Like it's not as pure of heart, I guess. It's actually very uncomfortable because
Well,
yeah, go
context, right?
ahead.
Let's give
Yeah.
context. She buys a gift for him for his birthday. Everyone's invited to his. Well, they do a surprise party because Wu Jing arranges that. His friend, right? His partner friend.
Mhm.
And they all surprise him at the house. And he thinks at first that she's there to apologize for something because she shows up by herself to ring the doorbell. And she's in
Wearing
this
a gorgeous
beautiful
little black dress too.
cocktail taffeta
Yep.
dress. Which I'm like, you wear black in daytime? Like, cocktail dress in daytime? Okay, that's fine, sure. And for a birthday party? Maybe. I mean, it's the prettiest dress she ever wears in the whole show, and the only time she wears
Yes.
it, right? But then, he's very sorely, quickly disappointed to find that no, everyone he didn't want at his house has now shown up. And what I remember about that though was you really get to see how much he really does want her to like him and like her. He likes her. She's still oblivious because he gets the gift. He decides to open it on his own, and of course in it there's a note that says, what is it? I love you. I want to have your babies. There was a mix-up, right, at the factory or something, at the vendor. So it was not intended for him. She really wanted to ask him for a raise or something, like, keep mentoring me, bring me to greater new career heights, and then give me a raise. So then they play that one for a few episodes, right, in terms of the whole persistence of the misunderstanding. But I love seeing, despite the secondhand embarrassment, I love seeing how happy he is. Because he's kind of giddy the whole time, right? Because he's just waiting now, like, for her to confess. Like, really confess, right? Like, run into his arms and be like, I love you. I want to have your babies. And he keeps waiting for that moment. And the payoff never comes. In fact, what happens? She gets set up on blind date, right? With some random childhood friend by her mom. And he's like, what? She's going on a blind date. So it becomes a forcing mechanism, right? For him to actually be more proactive. But it takes a while. And he does something hilarious. Like, he keeps interrupting their dates.
Yeah, he keeps barreling in and like putting himself right next to the guy and just giving him the stink eye.
Some of my favorite scenes from a scene perspective. So
the interesting thing about that is that there was a scene where they actually verbally communicated about that, where she's like, I don't know, like I didn't write it, so why are you blaming me? And he actually says something to the effect of, but it's almost like the floodgates were open. Like it's like you opened up my eyes. It opened up my eyes. Like so
he's like, right?
Yeah, he's like I can't go back in time. Like I can't undo it. So
here, how do you make things right? For me, the mistake was between you and the gift vendor. I get that, he said. I think something to that, right? Like the lawyer in him came in full mold, and he's like, "But I'm the innocent bystander." I think, right? I've been affected. How are you gonna make it up to me? And that's when they ended up having him getting her to be like his sort of like worker bee for 3 days, where he's like clean house, get this. It was his way. We as the audience know that he was being this unreasonable because he wanted to keep her to himself because he was afraid she was going to go on a blind date.
Yeah.
But she thought he was really being mean and punishing her.
Yes.
So to the point of being really unreasonable, right?
Yes. I mean, she was really upset. You feel really bad for her
quitting.
too.
She was like, I quit, right? And he's like, why are you quitting? You could have just like pretended to be doing the work. Why? I don't understand why you're so earnest about doing the work.
Why are you actually working so hard washing my house?
He's like, I was
and there's like a giant house.
Yeah, he's like, I was away on a meeting for hours on end. You could have just pretended to be doing work, right? But anyways, at least though that culminates, A, it was hilarious, and B, it culminates in the confession. So that to me was very memorable. But I also want to talk about more kind of smaller things like that I like. I mean, we talked about the characters we like, right? We like Chen Hen, we like Wu Jing, his friend, we like all of the side characters and Chen Hen's parents, especially his mom. We like enough early Chen Yao, right? I don't think we dislike her, but we definitely don't like what she became at the end. And then there were some unsavory characters like the girl that comes in at the end that creates havoc, and then of course her Chen Yao's sister's brother-in-law, who's a scumbag, who we will not waste much time on, but unfortunately the show wastes some time on him, right? He causes unnecessary conflict. What I also want to say, like, you really want to be friends. You like these characters because you want to be friends with them, right? Would you say?
Yes. So I think I told you this offline, but when I first started watching, I didn't actually like Bao. Is that his name?
Yes.
I mean, I know I brought him earlier in this podcast where I say he's actually the first sign that you realize Chang Heng is not as demonic as he could potentially be portrayed as, or be as a boss. But his character, to me, I didn't understand until like further in, as I was watching it. I'm like, oh, there's an innocence to him. He's not as much of as big as a loser as I thought he was gonna be. Loser in the sense of like, is he like a kiss ass?
Yeah, he is like a brat.
Yeah, but he actually has a life.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, they actually show snippets that are actually not relevant to the story at all, where they show, like, he mentions he has a girlfriend. He actually has social outings with people who are not part of the law firm. You realize, like, oh, this guy actually has a life. Like, he's not, like, he's not as flat a character as he could have been shown. Like, because you could just never see any of his outer life outside of the law firm. So actually, I actually respected the director for actually showing that, so that you understand why he's played that way. And then I really like the girl, the Wu Zhen's assistant. Like, she's so, what's her name?
Hold on, Tan Ying.
Yeah, like, she's so cool. She's super pretty, but she's not like a mean girl. She comes off like she's super supportive of Chen Yao the moment Chen Yao steps foot in the law firm, and like, just even, and then she has her own little secret romance, like, and I know you love the elevator scene, the when
the two running to each other at work.
Yeah, like, the two secret couples are like both trying to hide it, but then they kind of like know, because they themselves are hiding the couple, so they know, oh, that's another secret couple. And it was like such a funny scene.
No, they didn't know at the time.
They didn't know yet, but then Chen Heng saw Yu Fei holding Tan Ying's purse, I think. And then later on, she goes, why were you holding? Why didn't you give me my purse? He's like, I don't know. Like, he's like, he panicked and he didn't let go of it. She's like, you could have just said you're helping me hold it.
What I would say is, I also really like certain, just the small moments in their cohabitation. Like how they like cohabit, and the little things they do together and do for each other as they grow closer. I'm not gonna pinpoint every moment, right?
Yeah.
But you see how he takes care of her in his own way and cares about her, and how she's, like I said, not as expressive as a character, right? Or as an actress, who knows? But I think when you read the book or listen to the audiobook, it's much easier to understand where she comes from, because you hear her inner dialogue. In the show, you don't get that. So it's really hard to understand her. Yeah. She's very wooden in some ways, like poker face. But you still see, like, she's a pleasant person. She does cute things. And sometimes, she puts up with his shenanigans too, in her own, like, feisty little way. Like, her feisty moments are her best moments. There's just not enough of them. But I actually want to say, I actually like the legal cases, at least the first two they deal with. Now, they're unpleasant if you think about it, right? They're very gray. Yeah. They're not black and white. And I would say some audience members, based on the comments I've seen, get polarized about how the characters react or handle those cases. And I was like, dude, like, this is not about that, but at the same, it tells you about especially in family law that they're dealing with, there is not a clear cut, this is more moral than the other. It's about fairness or justice according to the law. And Chen Hen's all about that. So I really like that aspect. And I believe the author was an ex-lawyer or knows law in China, right? And that's why she wrote it that way. I don't know how realistic it is, but at least it plays out from a reader or audience perspective for me in an interesting way.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. Like once the cases start, I wasn't watching for the cases, but they do not. You know how sometimes they have these modern shows where there's like a professional our interpreter, right? Where the interpretation thing almost dominates the story, and you're like, this is boring as what? Why are we wasting time? I don't feel like that about the cases here.
Yeah, so I would agree with you that the cases were actually quite unique. Because like whenever we watch cases, right? Like other, I guess, legal dramas, and I haven't obviously seen all of them, so I'm just generalizing. But usually there's a very specific way they want to drive your thoughts towards the case, like so that you
this
agree.
is obviously right, or this is obviously wrong.
Yes. And I feel like maybe because the author wasn't a lawyer, a trained lawyer, and maybe because they saw very unique cases, and these are family court cases. These aren't like crime. These aren't like homicide cases, right? These are a lot of divorce cases. The aspects of the people involved, right? There's a humanity to it. It's not like, oh, you killed someone, therefore you're evil, right? You're just bad, right? There's people struggling and people who believe their own perspective is correct. You're fighting for assets and you're fighting for pride, right? Because when you're divorcing, it's not just about the black and white of assets. It's not like a mergers and acquisitions. It's actually, there's a lot of emotions involved, and it affects how people behave within the court, outside of the court. And so, yeah, it was interesting because even when Chahan was explaining the law and all that, like that's also why she was so easily swayed, right? Because she was like, divorce is like, she had this thing where she was putting herself in the shoes of usually the females, right? And then he's like, it's not really about that, right? It's everyone has a right to fight for their assets and protection, and money is a form of protection. And so, yeah, I agree. The cases were very, very unique. And I like that they didn't, like, they never really show him in court, by the way. He only shows up, like, you only actually see him in action at the end when he's taking down that guy. It was on, like, a variety show. Like, you actually never seen Changhe in court. You see her in court. You see Chen Ya in court. But then the way he guides her to think about how to do it, definitely fosters that relationship that you didn't think they could get to when you start in the beginning. When they're just roommates, if they were just purely roommates and they never had the working relationship, it probably wouldn't have evolved much, because it would just be bickering, like, right? A lot of minor bickering. But because they had to work together and he was using his knowledge and to like empower her for her job and her career, and kind of inspire her, that's when the mutual respect starts to form as well.
Yeah. And how he is so professional and is very, he has his standards about the law and about how to live his life and how people should approach handling the law, and he imparts it to her basically and makes her realize. Now, does the lesson always stick? I don't know. By the end, I'm like, did she really learn everything? She's still, this is what I don't like about her, right? She's an emotionality driven person to the point of annoyance. Everything's about her emotions. Kind of like the princess in Goodbye My Princess by the end. Oh, well, we won't go back there, but you know what I mean. But, and I don't like that type of character. It's irrational in some ways. And I get there are people like that, and maybe I shouldn't be so harsh in my judgment, right? But that's just how I am. And it's annoying. And to me, that's not realistic to have someone like him who is so rational in some ways, other than when it comes to love, right? Could get along with someone like that. And initially he couldn't. That's why he didn't like her. He's like, wow, she is really not professional and irrational, and she's trying really hard, but that trying alone does not cut it. And I think that's a fair statement, right? Like, just because you work hard doesn't mean you deserve recognition or the rewards if you don't actually care, get the results that are good or are doing what is correct. But then he's also so protective. That's what I like about him, right? You see it through the cases, through their professional interactions, that on the one hand he's berating people like harshly. He still cares about all of the people that works for him, including her especially. He has a soft spot. You can tell that he goes over more overboard to help her and make sure that she's not damaged emotionally, even though at the same time it's like, oh my god, how can you be so silly or emotional? How can you be so Lydia? He didn't say that, but you know what I mean. So
Lydia was impulsive.
And she had to live with the consequences of her actions in Pride and Prejudice, right? With Wickham.
Yes. But she wanted to live with Wickham, though. She didn't even...
At the end, I don't think it was... Well,
I mean, before she was excited, and then probably after she wasn't as excited. Yeah, I know. I think we haven't been shy about the fact that we didn't like her character arc because, I mean, I think, and like you said, we don't want to be too negative. I think ultimately they did end up together happily. She kind of came around, but it just it just felt like a shame that they couldn't get back to the sweetness. Like, you can have a bump in your, a bump in the road, in your road to romance, but I feel like they didn't give enough episodes to the end to gather enough honey back to the same level of sweetness, if you will.
She didn't recover her full humanity. Like, he found his humanity. She lost it somewhere and never got the keys back. But I think...
I know you didn't like the rival lawyer, but, like, honestly, in a different kind of situation...
You mean the love interest rival?
Yeah, the one that kind of came late in the game. And, like, other than her being kind of, like, an asshole to, like, steal the evidence and get Chen Yao in trouble during her court case, like... I feel like... I think I mentioned this, like, if this was a different drama, if the story where she was the lead, it would be like the unrequited love or the childhood unrequited crush, and then they would have their happy ending. But obviously that's not the story here.
The actress who plays her is certainly very pretty, and from a physical aspect, they are very well matched. Liang Yiran, right? You're talking about the female lawyer partner that comes in, who is like a college peer of Chen's. But her underhanded tactics really tanks her, right? That's the problem.
Of course.
You're like, do you need to do that? Like, that makes you less as a person when you actually had everything else going for you, right?
Yes.
A major character flaw. No successful woman should behave this way.
No.
But that, again, in talking about that, I also want to say, now I'm losing my train of thought. It's infectious, just losing a train of thought. I remember now. I think we had talked about this offline, that I think the reason that it doesn't play well at the end, the way the arc chose to go with her, the tanking of Chen Yao's character and her losing what we consider the romantic humanity, is because they play it for the fact that she wants to be an independent career woman, not live in the shadow of Chen Hen. Right? Because of that, she becomes cold fish. And she does admit that it's because of her own insecurities that she's become like this. But then she doesn't do anything to fix it. So you're like, well, what the admitting that you understand you're the problem, but then not trying to fix it and still punishing him. And she does punish him. That's the word I want to use. For being just the way he is unfair and mean. Right?
Yeah, and
but
go ahead.
Sorry, let me finish the thought, and then please do continue. The reason I think it doesn't work is because that's not how the book works. In the book, the reason they break up isn't because of career. Career becomes a consideration, independence, but it's because he was very adamant that he doesn't believe in marriage because he's been a divorce lawyer for so long. He's so jaded about it, right? And he doesn't believe in having kids. In her mind, it's like, well, then this is a doomed romance. I want a future with you, and my future doesn't end just being together, right? And I'm like, okay, so as a woman, I can understand that. I relate to that much better. right? If a man you love says, I love you, but how, come on, marriage, you don't need marriage. You don't need kids, right? And you know I'm right. You'll come around. Like, that's him disrespecting or denigrating her values. Right? So it makes more sense for her to say, I'd see this as a hopeless journey together. So let me take the pain now and cut it off while I can before I persist. Because she didn't see a future. So why prolong the relationship?
Right. Whereas in the drama, it was like she kept him dangling, really, because she didn't give him an out either. It's like well, she never says we're broken up, but she treats him like they're broken up because he's like, oh, let's get together, like, for dinner, or he wouldn't even take us phone calls. Like, she's like, I'm busy working, and it's like the excuse that she can give him, and then he's like trying to be patient.
He just felt like putting pause for indefinitely, but he's supposed to wait around until she makes up her mind.
Right. Exactly. It was very unfair, and also, like, he was almost too patient because, like, he doesn't want to break up with her, so he doesn't ever even mention the idea that they're broken up. He's just like, oh, like, let's meet. Like, oh, what are you free? Like, he's so eager, and she's just like, it's not, when she sees him, she's not even happy to see him.
No, it's so deadpan. I was like, oh my god, someone tickle her.
It's not like, oh, I'm busy, but okay, I'll see you in 10 days. But when you see each other, it's really happy. It's like, ugh, it's like you again. Like, that kind of facial
you're supposed to
paralysis.
I think you're supposed to realize she's conflicted, but you don't see any of the conflict, right?
Yes.
So this is where I blame either the scripting, the director choices, or the actress, right? Like, I'm like, you can see when he's all tripped up emotionally. How come you can't see it on her if she doesn't care? Right, then you as an audience are just like, well, she doesn't give a F.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't miss him at all because if you're that busy, it's like a long distance relationship, right? Even though they're in the same city, like, it's like, oh, I can't meet up for 10 days because I have this big case, and you're like, all right. And then when you see each other, it should be like, oh, a reunion of sorts, right? Not like a, oh, I'm so sorry I had to bump into you kind of thing. And
like, I only want to talk about business when we do, right? And
like,
let's keep the distance. It's like, okay, there's no conflict. But anyways, let's pretend that the book ending the conflict in the book is the way the show should have gone, and they still have the same ending, of course, which is they get back together and they give a nice beatdown to the nasty ex-brother-in-law.
That was a good one, actually.
Yeah, that was a good one. A public embarrassment of the right type. And then you get to the end. I mention one more thing because I know we're almost probably ready to wrap, right? Which is 2, maybe 3 more things. Really random thoughts. Chen Hen's wardrobe, love it. Looks so good. Oh my God.
Looks so good. Really fitted him well. He looked even like in a simple black shirt, like no blazer, no tie.
His black outfit, like just like the shirt tucked into the pants. I was like, oh, that looks so good. How can it look so good, right? And then his 3-piece suits are great too. When he beats down the lawyer, wasn't he wearing like the 3-piece? Oh, that's another thing. He physically beats some guy up who tries to molest her.
Oh yeah.
Which I think you said, I've never seen something like this in a show.
Yeah,
but it
was a severe beatdown. Like, it's not like 2 hooligans doing it, fighting next to a motorcycle out in the street. It was literally like him bitch slapping this guy in the conference room.
Because he knew like some martial arts.
No, then he was pummeling him for a while, and you're like, wow, they really filmed like a whole. It's not a fighting scene. It's just like a beatdown scene.
Because he knows martial arts. Remember, they talked about it afterwards. She's like, "Can you teach me this?"
Yes. It's I've never seen something this detailed.
But it was also a romantic moment if you want to look at things for romance, right? Because he's like the knight in shining armor in that scene. When he comes in, that was a sweet scene, actually, in some ways. It was very uncomfortable for me to watch initially, that episode. I think it was like, what was it? Like 16 or something? Or no. Maybe not 16. Hold on. Not 16. Maybe like 13, 14.
Yeah.
Earlier on, after their second case. But, they got on a business trip and some the client who is a honcho tries to molest her, like corners her in private, and that was really uncomfortable. But she gets away, you know, but then she wasn't going to tell Chen because she thought it would ruin the client relationship, and she didn't want to jeopardize because she was stupid, right? In her mind, she's blaming herself. I'm like, what? Why are you blaming yourself in this instance, right? But he actually found out, and he was so mad, marched her down with him to the client, and she thought he was gonna make her apologize, but really he wanted to beat the guy up in front of her. And he asked her, like, where did he try to touch you? Like, which hand did he use? He's like, point out everything, and I'm gonna
breaking the hands, the fingers,
Yeah, so I was like, that makes up for the discomfort that precedes it, because he really made the thing better for her. And then he took her to the amusement park. Remember?
Yes. So the discomfort you're talking about, I thought, I totally agree. It was actually quite effective because as a woman, when you watch that scene, you feel like that could play out. That could actually play out just like that in a workplace environment. And it was actually, like, considering how cartoonish most of the drama had been with the caricatures, it was actually quite jarring because they did not hide that scene. Yeah, they didn't try to make that silly. They actually made it quite serious. Like the fact, like even her scenes where she was crying and shaking, like, you actually feel really scared for her because you feel like she was told in advance, like, do not ever be alone with the guy. Don't meet with him, right? Didn't I think Chang give her that?
I warned her, but I don't know if he did it because of that, but he probably suspected, right, that
he just didn't think it was appropriate anyways. He was like, don't meet with the client
without me. Let me interface with him. Don't ever like have to do any bidding for him. But she, again, didn't listen.
I mean, so she was very naive and think. Oh, well, actually, no, they tricked her. They told her he was gonna be there. I think.
No, they didn't. They said, "Can you just like?"
Oh, she was gonna meet a different person. She was gonna meet a different person.
Yeah,
it wasn't gonna be that guy. Yeah, so they tricked her. They planned it. The evil people. Oh, you know what we didn't talk? We didn't talk about his parents. I mean, we liked his parents, but like the reason we liked his parents, like, so. Oh, so, you know, like, going back to, like, the whole, like, social class, like, so his family is supposedly very wealthy, but it sounds like he's not new money, but his parents are new money, right? Like, he grew up in luxury, but, like, it sounds like his parents were not rich. They made it rich because, spoiler, like, his parents knew her parents from, like, high school or something. And the dads knew each other from high school or college, I don't know. But, so his parents are kind of new money. But then when you first meet his mom, like, so she actually appears very early on. But we didn't know that was his mom, and she's actually a former Hong Kong actress that you recognize. I didn't recognize her immediately, but after I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, she was really famous in the 80s or 90s.
Movies.
Yeah, I don't.
But she's actually a great actress. She's very very hilarious in the role.
She's hilarious, and actually, she's really cute. Like, she's so cute because she's such a cheerleader. Like, she's not like one of those evil. I mean, I guess that's also kind of trippy because I don't think evil mother-in-laws. Yeah, I don't think evil mother-in-laws are a thing in China anymore. I feel like after watching so many C-dramas in the recent years, like they completely kind of train. You know, there's a time and place for it. But like in this one, even though she's rich and she's like basically a housewife and she doesn't really do anything and all she does is want to see her son. She's so supportive because she's like, oh, there's a girl that my son likes. Oh, she's a good one. She's not a gold digger, you know. Like she like tested her or something, I think. And then she's just like, oh, as long as my son loves you, then you're in, right? Like she's not. And like even the dad's kind of goofy. Like when they first show his parents in the beginning, you don't get a good read on them. They're just like sitting around, like they look like retirees in their other villa. Like you don't get a sense of who they are. But then they become more endearing as they show more scenes of them. But then, in contrast, Chen Yao's parents get worse and worse. You're like
why she's the way she is with parents like that, right? And with him, you kind of go, huh? How does such cool, fun parents beget such a serious guy as a son? But I kind of understand too, because I'm kind of like that in that my parents are extremely irresponsible and childish. I have to be very responsible. So maybe I'm a female Chen in some ways.
Maybe.
There we go. Except I don't have the looks. I wish I. Well, actually, I think she would look good as a girl too, probably.
Probably.
Well, I digress. But yes, I love his parents. Hate her parents.
Yeah, her parents, and we had this other conversation offline, but like her relationship with her sister to me was also very strange in the drama. Like whenever I watched, so in the beginning, her sister, I didn't get a good, again, I always never get a good read. It takes me a while before I understand the characters, but the sister in the beginning, I felt like she was going to be one of those throwaway characters. I didn't realize she was going to resonate and actually. I don't even know if she's considered a second female lead, but she plays a more prominent role as the story progresses. And the weird thing for me when I watched this, I thought the sister lived elsewhere, right? But it turns out they lived in the same city. So I never I was like, why didn't? So in the beginning, Chen Yao lived with a roommate, and then the roommate's like, well, I'm getting married, and so Chen Yao moves out, and that's how she found the apartment that she ends up living in with Chang Heng. But like, at no point did they ever mention like, I can move in with my sister. Like her sister was living in a nice little domicile, had a little garden patio and
to the firm, but yeah.
Maybe, but like the way they interact, it was always very like and when the parents are in town, right? You never see the four of them together. They never have a meal together. It's like the parents show up and it's like Chen Yao's like their only daughter. Like the way they talk to her, it's like she's an only child. And then at some point they might have shown the parents with the sister, but it was very strange to me that their relationship, as much as she's like, I'm so close to my sister, I'm only in law because of my sister, like I admire my sister. And then they don't, but then like there's scenes where the sister's like, yeah, if she's in trouble, she won't tell me. Like she never confides in me. She doesn't tell you what's going on with her life. And it's like the sisters, they're close, but they're not close enough where they share each other. Like they don't share their own like secrets, right? Like when the older sister's suffering from like harassment of the ex-husband, she doesn't tell her little sister. And I guess you can argue she was being like, she wanted to shield her younger sister from it, but it's like they're both adults and they're both lawyers. Like you would think, like, can we like let's talk about this? Let's have a plan and let's like be aware of this guy, right? Like there should be some sort of like. There's no camaraderie. We see more camaraderie.
Her sister was married and then divorced. Her parents don't treat her the same way because she's not the child anymore. She is the older, more illustrious or accomplished kid, right, in their eyes. And also, plot-wise, they need that separation so the sister can have Wu Jing as a side story, which thank God, they're so cute together too.
They're so cute. I mean, yeah, they made up for the cold fish because their sweetness their sweetness got so much better because I love that Wu Jun, like, he was a good guy all the way through. Like, he gave her space. He wasn't pushy. He wasn't, like, if you actually had to compare them in real life, right? Wu Jun would probably be more successful. I mean, he did have a lot of girlfriends. He was a
boyfriend material than Chen Hen.
Yeah, but he was also different. He was a playboy in the beginning. Remember, he had a lot of girlfriends, but it's because he couldn't get the one he really wanted, so he was just like dating for the sake of dating. He wasn't serious about anyone. So yeah, they kind of cover that too. Like when he and the older sister got together, and then all the ex-girlfriends showed up to like give him a piece of their minds, but. Yeah, like I feel like I as you watch, the side characters get more and more interesting. They have more and more life and redemption in them, and it's just a shame that the female lead, they get, like I said, they had a happy ending. They had that random wedding, but
you didn't like the wedding. I'm fine with that. That's how I would get married. That's how I kind of got married, not in the park, but here's the dinner. Everyone come. And let's just celebrate.
I don't mind that. I just didn't like her outfit. That's just me.
That's because she's been frumpy all through, so it didn't make any difference. And I didn't think it was really that frumpy because her character is so frumpy in some ways.
She had the cute black cocktail dress. She's capable.
Yeah, well, and that was so she can have babies by accident or something. I did like that scene on the rooftop when she found them at the birthday party.
Ah, yes.
And he looked at her, and it was like if you didn't know what was happening, it'd be a very romantic moment in a romantic show or movie. in his mind it was. In her mind it was like, I found you, I get extra bonus like awards, like prize money.
I got the prize for finding him first.
But if you freeze frame it, which they do, I think in the ending theme song sequence, it's very romantic. There are a lot of scenes where it's like, this could be in the music video, and they would look really good. Like, they are both very good-looking people.
Yes, yes.
All of the people in the show, other than Bao Rui, maybe, are pretty good-looking people.
Yes.
And they jive. It's not like, oh, this one looks like they should be in a different show, high fashion model versus like Girl Next Door, or Julia Roberts look. So I like that. Like visually, it's a pleasing show. And well, sonically too, since I mentioned the theme song, I still have the OST, especially the ending song stuck in my head.
Oh, yeah, they have good music.
OST. So, anyways, I've meandered a lot. So, anything else to wrap
up? No, I think the one of the things when you mentioned the birthday party, his villa, like. I felt so sad for him when he was like
in the museum, a modern art museum.
Yeah, like because he got mad at her, and then he moved back, and he was upset that she didn't like call him or cook him food. And
I love those moments though when they're apart and you can tell they, like both miss each other, but neither of them know how to break that barrier yet because it was all before they got together, right?
No, I just like, that villa was so cold. I mean, I love a good modern home, but even that was like...
There are a lot of stairs and no railings. I'd probably trip and fall and crack my head open.
There were like random things jutting out near the entrance, and you're like, oh my god, like if you turn incorrectly, you're gonna bash your head. It's too low. Yeah. I imagine that's a real home for someone.
When you have money, you gotta keep living on the edge and keep life exciting, right? And
you know what's funny? I don't know if it's like American standards. Like when they showed their apartment, the one that they both live in, before they revealed the villa. Like when I was watching, I was like, "Oh, that's a cute apartment. It even has like a patio roof deck, right?
Because they're in Shanghai.
Patio roof deck.
It's one of those old, probably like international concessions when Shanghai had all the foreigners back in before World War II. The French concession, like our house in Shanghai, and we used to live in Shanghai when I was a kid, was in the French concession. So you get a lot of these old school, and now they've all been renovated, and they retain the style, but renovated. So they're very quaint old houses. But I think where you're going is like they keep remarking it as if they live in the dingy apartment, and you're like,
yeah, and I was like, it's so cute.
This is a very nice little neighborhood. I would love to live. It's like saying, if you watch the show Friends, people are like, this is an apartment in Brooklyn? Like, and they treat it like it's like a normal apartment, like down, like young professionals with not making a lot of money will live in because they're sharing like a huge apartment. Like, this is a luxury apartment by those standards.
This is a luxury apartment for Boston standards. I mean, like, the fact that they had a rooftop deck with a view, and they were on the top floor, and it was private. Like, they didn't have to share, and she decorated it however she wanted. I was like, oh my god, so cute. And then
it wasn't like a sterile concrete block.
Yeah. I mean, it was not a poor man's apartment by any means. And then of course they showed his house, and you're like, oh, that's what you're comparing it to. Like, no wonder.
The apartment over the house. Like, I think that's what you're saying too, right? Like, give me the apartment any day.
Yeah, I would take the apartment. I mean, it was funny because she took over furnishing it, right? Like the furnishings were all her cute little tchotchkes. And he would come out with his little, black slippers and his little like black iPad tablet, but like he did not look like he fit in. But then he just got used to it. You could tell. I mean, he got used to it. And then and then when he left, he took the lemon with him. Remember? Like so the villa,
that was so petty. He's like, I want the lemon back.
Yeah, like it was so like his whole villa so cold, and then he had the lemon on his like little modern couch.
Oh, and then it has a serious side. Well, the lemon has there's a painting I think in the Vatican where if you depending on what angle you approach it, it looks like the eyes of Jesus.
The eyes,
follows you. That's what the lemon is. Like the eyes is always giving a side eye, a disapproving,
Yeah.
ironic side eye, and it was hilarious.
It is. And then I don't know if you remember, like in her cubicle, she has a little version of the lemon, which they don't show her getting that at the amusement park, but that lemon is iconic now. I mean,
well, you and I ordered our own, right? It hasn't arrived yet. We had to special order it from what, China?
Yeah, I had to ask a friend to help us order it. It's supposedly shipped, but yeah.
I can't wait to snuggle with it. Well, maybe I don't want to snuggle with it because you don't want to ruin it. This is the struggle, right? When you get like a plush and you're like, oh, I just spent a lot of money to get this. Do I soil it with my face oils, my hand oils, or do you do what Chen did, which is encase it in a clear plastic case so it doesn't get damaged?
I think you snuggle with it. I think that's what it's made for.
Yeah.
Your cats
Should have ordered two.
Your cats might snuggle with
one
it.
One for looking at forever on display, one for actual use.
It's huge though.
I know.
It looks so big, but it's cute.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Are we good? Anything that's just you're burning to get off of your chest, or are we good? I mean, we could go on.
We could go on. I think
way over 30 minutes, obviously. We're way over an hour now, so
I know. I think we love the drama. We love the music. We're a little, the well, we've talked about what we don't love. So, but we'll focus on what we did love, and I think we can say we do still recommend it. It's a good show.
I know I'd recommend it highly because even though the ending made it an 8 out of 10 instead of a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 7 out of 10 overall. I rewatched the whole thing. I told you. So I don't rewatch a lot of shows. There's only a handful of shows ever, especially Asian dramas that are so long time in my. I watched the whole thing, end to end again, without much fast forwarding the second time. Like the first time I didn't fast forward other than that one uncomfortable episode with like 30s, right? I told you I was kind of annoyed. So that says a lot about its entertainment value, at least for me.
Well, and then Linmon Media re-released it, but they're calling them movies, but it's really like.
You mean on YouTube?
On YouTube. It's like 2 episodes tacked together. And I watched the first one, and it was like almost 2 hours long. And I was like, I don't see the difference. So I don't know why they chose to do it other than to repurpose the footage and try to get more traffic onto their channel. But yeah, they've been like every day they were like movie number 2, movie number 3.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the show gets better once you get over. Definitely, if you're gonna watch it, give it beyond episode 6 or 7, right? As with most shows, I would advise people at least give the first 3 or 4 episodes, or 2 or 3 for most shows you get. With this one, you definitely it hits its stride beyond episode 5 or 6.
Yeah,
and then it has even a higher note of like a higher stride even beyond that once the romance picks up, and it takes a while. And don't expect to kiss until 23 or something.
But the sweetness is good. And like I said, the supporting cast, everyone's really good. Everyone's just good. It's good vibes, good energy to watch. It's easy to watch. It's not like, it's not complex. It's just like it's funny. There's so many things where you can laugh at too. So
yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about, or good?
Well, for our next episode, I think
we gotta go short.
Well, we're gonna talk about. You want to tell people what we're gonna talk about?
I think we thought about maybe not as known dramas. Not that My Boss is well known, but at least it's related to Chen Xingxu, right? So I think we're gonna pivot away from Chen Xingxu in that, because you and I are never gonna finish watching Our Interpreter, and if we were, I don't know if we have the energy to go talk about it right now. So I think we're gonna talk about some mini dramas, not mini as in short form, but like just not as different actors, easier watch dramas, like fluffy pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now I'm still trying to finish. Guess Who I Am. You already finished it. I want episode 20.
We want to talk about that quickly. I found it
Yes.
entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give my thoughts in our next podcast. And then you have no plans to watch it, but we talked about maybe covering Everyone Loves Me.
Well, you
which
love it, so I think you should talk about it.
I did enjoy it a lot.
And
I might
can
have to
react
rewatch
to your comments.
Yes. I mean, I'm not gonna try to sell it, but I'll tell you why and what I liked about it, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see, see what other dramas. And then you're watching a Thai drama.
Oh,
Or
I
you
finished
finished the
it.
Thai. You finished it.
It was actually released last year. I can talk about it next time. I even read the book. It's one of the more romantic BL dramas. If you watch BL, you know what I mean. In that most BL is not very romantic. Actually, it's almost too extreme. I have nothing against being extreme. Otherwise, why am I even watching BL? But this was one of the most romantic, and in some ways bittersweet BLs.
Yeah, I watched the music video that you sent me. It is very beautifully shot, and
the cinematography, right, and the costuming,
yes,
and the whole feel of the time period there. Anyways, not to go too far into it, so we can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next time. But anyways, thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Until next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.